Have you ever wanted to burn down your own house with your mother trapped inside? No? Glad to hear it. But Izzy Richardson has, and that's exactly what she does at the very beginning of Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ing. The question is why? Why would she do that? And that is a question that the book takes its sweet time answering. In fact, the book takes the whole book answering that question. It's a kind of brazen move having a first chapter which gives away the ending to your story, and in fact it's an even more brazen move to give away the ending prior to the first chapter in the dedication. In fact, you wouldn't even think that would be possible, but that's exactly what Celeste Ing does. It says, "To those out on their own paths, setting little fires." If I'd been writing this book, I might have written it in such a way that at the beginning Izzy seemed like this dangerous lunatic, and over the course of the book we start to appreciate and sympathise with her. But Celeste Ing has bigger goals than that. She decides, nope, here's the dedication. Izzy is going to be the hero of this story. This is how the story is going to end. I'm going to spend the next 400 or so pages explaining why. I'm someone who, when I'm reading, I like to feel like I'm exploring unexplored territory. I don't like to read books that are already bestsellers or already award winners. I'm always looking for undiscovered gems instead. And by the time a book has been adapted into an Amazon Prime series, I'm usually not very interested. But for whatever reason, I ended up reading Little Fires Everywhere anyway, possibly on account of all the celebrity endorsements on the front with people saying it was unputdownable and outstanding and gripping, and I read it in a sitting. And I spent kind of the first 5 or 6 chapters going, really? Because it wasn't working for me. I know that first chapter with the house burning down is there kind of to give you the sense that it's going somewhere, but it also has the unintended consequence of dumping the whole cast in your lap. Instead of getting to know the characters one by one and kind of exploring their depths while you're not confused about who's who, instead the whole cast shows up, and it's like reading a book, I reckon, is sometimes a bit like hosting a dinner party. Kind of, yeah, you tell everyone to turn up at 6, but the first person who shows up is that sort of very punctual, well-organized person, and they kind of help you get set up, and they kind of help you welcome the others into the house one at a time. And it means that by the time you've got a full party of people going, everyone's ready to eat their dinner and have a good time. This is more like the whole cast carpooled on their way to the story, and you open the door and they all just kind of come flooding in and stampede all over you. So I guess I'm saying it took me a little while to get a hang on it. I gave up on it a couple of different times because those first, other than the burning down house, the first kind of 5 or 6 or 7 chapters, nothing happened. But luckily, it turned out all that stuff wasn't just throat clearing, it was table setting. By the time I got to the end, I was glad that the first 5 or 6 chapters hadn't been cut. There's a few things that are kind of off-putting about this book at first. One of them is that it jumps around from perspective to perspective a lot, and I don't mean alternating chapters, I mean it sometimes changes perspective mid-paragraph or even mid-sentence. And so that breaks some of the rules of writing, which I approve of. I'm not in favour of following the rules of writing in general, but it does mean that it feels like someone telling you a story rather than feeling like a story that is actually happening to you or in front of you. So it kind of keeps the reader at a distance. With that in mind, it's truly remarkable that by the end, I mean, this book is set in the 90s, and after it finished, so I found it unputdownable for the last few chapters. I was like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? When are we going to get to the burning down house? And then after I put it down, like I said, the book's set in the 90s, and I kept thinking, I wonder what Mia's doing these days. And then remembering that Mia was a fictitious character in a book. So that's the thing that authors are always striving for. Fiction authors. I mean, we tell you that this is a novel, none of it happened, none of these people are real, and then we try to trick you into believing that these characters are real people, so much so that the author is harangued at events being asked, who was the inspiration for such and such a person, because we can't possibly accept that it just was made up and never happened and just came out of the author's brain. Celeste Ing does that really well. I absolutely 100% believed in the humanity of all these people, even though she kept me at a distance by jumping around between perspectives, even though she gave away her own ending on the first page, even though Little Fires Everywhere is a great book. You should totally read it. The next one that I'll talk about is Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu, which is completely different. YA novel. I'm behind the curve, but I have thoughts, so I'd like to share them with you. In the meantime, I've been Jack Heath. I'm the author of Kill Your Brother and a whole bunch of other books. Thanks for having me on your computer, phone, or wherever you watch this stuff. And if you want more of me, you can go to jackheathwriter.com or follow me on Twitter or YouTube at jackheathwriter. See ya.